I got an invitation to my own 7th birthday party, 30 years too late. The only problem is the house burned down the night of that party, and everyone at that party died but me. I don't usually check my mail at night, but last Friday I did. I'd had a long day, work was miserable, the city was suffocating, my apartment felt too small. I wanted something, anything to distract me. So when I saw the small white envelope sitting alone in my mailbox, I thought it was junk. No stamp, no letter address, just my name. Emma, written in big looping letters like a child's handwriting. I almost tossed it. I should have, but instead I tore it open right there in the hallway. Inside was a birthday card. A cheap one, pink and glittery, a cartoon cake with 7 candles. Inside it said, "Happy 7th birthday, Emma. Come celebrate with all your friends. Saturday, 3 p.m., your house on Willow Lane." My hands started to shake. My house on Willow Lane burned to the ground 25 years ago. I was 7. The fire department said it was an accident, faulty wiring. But I remember waking up to the smell of smoke and the sound of screaming. I'm not supposed to remember much. Trauma does that buries things. But sometimes in dreams I hear giggling in the smoke. Sometimes I see little hands waving me back inside. I called my mother that night. She lives 3 states away now, somewhere warm, far from pines and ghosts. "Mom," I said, "did you send me something?" "Like what?" she asked. Her voice was tight, careful. "An invitation to my 7th birthday." She didn't say anything for a long time. Then, in the smallest voice, "Don't go, Emma." She hung up before I could ask why. I barely slept. I kept that card on my nightstand. Every hour, I picked it up just to make sure it was real. By sunrise, I convinced myself it was a prank. Old neighborhood kids. Someone who found my name in a dusty newspaper archive. But Saturday at 2:45, I was in an Uber asking the driver to take me to an address that shouldn't exist anymore. Willow Lane was half forgotten, an old cul-de-sac on the edge of town, choked with weeds and wild lilacs. I hadn't been back since the fire. I told myself the house would be gone, just an empty lot, blackened earth under wet leaves. But when the car turned the corner, I saw it. My house, painted white, just like it used to be. Yellow shutters, a swing hanging from the porch beam, swaying gently though there was no wind. Balloons bobbed on the mailbox, pink and purple. A big sign hung on the porch. "Happy 7th birthday, Emma." I asked the driver if he could see it too. He looked confused, said, "What house?" I told him, "Never mind." I got out. The Uber pulled away, tires crunching gravel, taking sanity with it. I stood at the gate for a long time. The fence was freshly painted too, not the splintered, half-burnt posts from my last memory. I swear I could smell the old house, a mix of cake frosting and wood smoke. My fingers brushed the latch. It swung open without a creak. When I stepped onto the porch, I saw tiny handprints on the white rail, sticky pink smears of frosting or finger paint. I reached for the doorbell, but the door was cracked open. I heard it then, music, tinny, warbling, the happy birthday song on an old cassette player my mom used to have. And under the music, giggling, high, echoing voices. I pushed the door open. The living room looked exactly like it did on my 7th birthday, the last normal day I remember. Streamers looped across the ceiling. Balloon animals lined the mantel, plastic plates and party hats on a folding table next to a cake pink icing, 7 candles waiting for a match. And there they were, my friends, 5 of them all standing around the table, except they weren't kids. They were adults just like me, early 30s. But their clothes were wrong, bright, mismatched, like kids dressed themselves for a birthday. They turned when they heard the door. When they saw me, they beamed, "Emma." One of them squealed Sarah. I'd know her freckles anywhere, but Sarah died in the fire. I went to her funeral, a tiny white casket closed tight. Yet here she was, grown up, but somehow exactly the same. Same wide grin, same missing front tooth, except she should have adult teeth now. Beside her was Lucas, taller than I remember, but with that same cowlick sticking up, Jacob, Molly. Little Benji, who'd always hidden behind his sister at parties. All here, all grown but wrong. You're late, Jacob laughed, his voice deep but giggly, like a kid in a grown-up suit. We almost started without you. Sarah grabbed my hand. Her skin was cold, clammy. Come on, we've been waiting forever. I pulled my hand away. How are you here? Benji just giggled and stuck his thumb in his mouth. Lucas stepped closer, his eyes wide and empty. We're here for your party, silly. You can't have a party without your friends. His breath smelled like smoke. I backed away. My heel hit something soft, a gift bag. Bright purple tissue paper peeked out. It had my name on the tag, to Emma, from your best friends forever. I picked it up. My hand shook as I peeled the paper back. Inside was an old stuffed rabbit, its fur scorched and melted on one side. I dropped it. I remember clutching that rabbit when the house was filled with smoke. I remember dropping it when my mother dragged me outside. I didn't want to look at them, but I did. They were staring now, not smiling. Their faces flickered, like candle flames in the wind. I saw soot on their cheeks, blisters, hair singed to the scalp. But when I blinked, they were whole again, bright-eyed kids in adult bodies. We missed you, Molly whispered. Sarah took a step forward. It wasn't fair you left us, she said. You promised we'd always be together, Lucas added. His eyes glowed like embers. I stumbled back, knocking over paper plates. The cake wobbled, candles unlit. I didn't know. I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. Benji reached out his hand, tiny, charred at the fingertips. Come play with us, he said softly. I turned. I ran for the door, but the hallway stretched wrong, too long, too dark. The streamers drooped from the ceiling like veins. Photos lined the walls me at 7, but in each picture my friends were there too. Older in each frame, at 10, at 16, at 21, all fake, all impossible. Each photo burned at the edges. I reached the door, but when I pulled it open there was no daylight. Just black pines, endless, whispering. Behind me I heard the giggles again. Footsteps, adult feet pattering like children's. Emma. I turned. They were there, closer than they should be. Their eyes hollow, mouths leaking smoke. It's your party, Sarah said. Time to blow out the candles. I felt something cold grip my wrist, Jacob's hand, half burned. I smelled birthday cake, sweet, sickly, mixed with the acrid tang of burning wood. They pulled me back toward the cake. We saved you a piece, Molly giggled. They pushed me into a chair. Sarah struck a match. It flared, hissing. She lit the 7 candles one by one. Make a wish, Lucas whispered in my ear. His breath was hot ash. The flames flickered, 7 tiny fires dancing in frosting. What do you want most, Emma? Sarah asked. I looked at their faces, flickering between adults and burned children, smiling wide and broken. Come home, Molly whispered. Stay with us this time. My mouth trembled. I remembered the rabbit, the smoke, the door my mother pulled me through. I closed my eyes. I made a wish, and when I opened them, the candles were gone. The cake was gone. The house was gone. I was sitting alone on the dirt lot on Willow Lane, empty except for cracked foundation stones, half swallowed by weeds. No balloons. No laughter. Just the wind in the pines and the faint smell of smoke clinging to my clothes. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear them giggling, waiting for me to come back. Maybe one day I will.